Oh, right here we go. Okay. Hey, it's really good meeting you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your night and coming on the show, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. You saw the
Awesome.
film?
So, like the first thing I wanted to start out asking you is, probably a question might get asked a lot is what what drew you to the world of art? Like, when did your passion start for wanting to draw?
Oh, wanting to draw in general. Well, I think that started in kindergarten when I was really young. I always drew things. Early on, I remember as a little kid, there was a lot of copying comic strips, characters,
Yeah.
uh, Tom and Jerry comics. I remember I had those, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. So those are my earliest memories of drawing in kindergarten. And then later on, it became a little bit more serious. When I was about 11, I saw the Jungle Book,
Yeah.
the old one, the hand-drawn one, and that just changed my life from one day to the next. And I was really curious, how this is done, and if I can be a part of it when I'm older, and all of that stuff. And yeah, and then I wrote to the studio actually at that time, or it was about a year later when I was 12. I wrote to Disney Studios. Growing up in Germany was a long distance thing, and so I wrote them a letter and asked, "What can I do here to train myself to sometime work for you guys?" And so they wrote back, and which was super cool, obviously. And they
Yeah.
said, if you're serious about animation the way we do it here, they said, please, you have to become an artist first. So go to art school and learn really how to draw, and go to the zoos to and draw the animals and study them, and then show us those kind of drawings, life drawings, the human figure, animal
Yeah.
drawings. So yeah, then I really got into drawings, and just drew a lot and took all these classes and studied art later. And then yeah, and then it was in 19 it was actually the late 70s when I found out that they had an animation training program for new people coming into Disney. First
Nice.
time I heard that they were even accepting new people. And I got in touch with the head of the training program, that was an old animator who worked on Pinocchio and Snow White and all of those classic films. And there was a man named Eric Larson.
Okay.
And so I wrote to Eric and I said, here are some samples of my work. I made some copies, and mailed them to him. And he said, yeah, he said, finish school. I had about a half a year left. He said, after you finish, we'll take you into the training program. And that gig lasted 30 years at
Oh
Disney.
my God. Wow. That is awesome. Yeah, because I like you've done so so much work for them, like from Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. Like how did it feel working on such iconic films like those?
Well, I mean, we didn't know how iconic they would become at the time. We tried to do our best and develop the character the best you can, and it's always a team effort. So I can't take complete credit for a character. For example, let's just take one of them. Scars was one of my
Mhm.
favorites, even though I designed him with his black mane and the way he looks and the green eyes and all that, but there's the voice, that's a big part of the
Oh
character.
yeah, of course.
And in that case, we had Jeremy Irons, was this is one of the best actors that I've ever known, and God, he could just read anything, and I would want to. He could read the phone book, and I want to animate it. He's so incredible with words. The way he gave Scar sort of in intelligence, but also danger, and it was just a joy, absolute joy working with a voice actor like that. And then of course you have story people who create a plot for Scar, and lay out what he's going to do. He's killing his brother and all of that. So it's all a team effort. But the final performance on the screen, the way he moves and the way he behaves, that is really me as the animator.
Okay, nice. And now you have your own short that's coming out. It's playing film at festivals. So can you tell us a little bit about inspired you to want to draw and write it and make it?
Well, I wanted to continue in hand-drawn animation because that's just who I am, that's my life. I've always, like I said early on, I've always drawn, and I just wanted to continue that. And that meant at this time, I would have to create my own project
Hmm.
because not a lot of these hand-drawn films are being made anymore. So I thought, well, what would be fun to animate? It'd have to be an animal because I love animals. And I thought, well, I got some experience with big cats from Lion King, and maybe a tiger with all those stripes would be really great to animate. That would be really fun. And then instantly I got the idea, well, what if we have sort of an innocent little girl um, pairing up or being paired up with a big tiger? That could be some
Hmm.
interesting tension and all that comes out of that relationship. And so I came up with the character of Sarah, and so the basic idea that I developed then, it wasn't really a story yet. Just the idea was, what if the girl raises this cub
Hmm.
who's an orphan, and of course they bond and all that, and then but when he gets big and is almost an adult, there are some shady people around them who want to kill the tiger and cash him in for money, and because a dead tiger is worth a lot of money, still is, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
And so Sarah finds out about it, and she decides she wants to save him, and the only thing she can think about is taking him back into the forest where she found him
Hmm.
way back, and then hopefully he'll be there and be a wild tiger. But maybe things shouldn't go according to plan. There should be other things to that idea. But that's all I had, and so I asked a friend of mine who has always worked for himself and does so many different artistic things, from painting and writing and music, and so I told him about this idea, and and asked him to flesh it out into a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so he came up with a screenplay, and then when I saw that, I said, man, there are all these characters that I never would have thought of, like the grandmother. There's
Yeah.
the father who she never knew, who she now has to live with, and it just read like a little novel, And I said, this is so cool. Let's just do this and see where we end up. And then, as you do, you storyboard the whole thing and in all these little comic strip type sketches, and lay the story out and all that. And then we animated it, and then voices and sound and all of that. But yeah, it was a huge adventure. Took a long time, but here it is.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I watched it and it was so good. Like, I loved it, and it definitely pulls at your like heartstrings, because like, you have this little girl, like you said, who's living with the grandmother, then she has to live with the father, and then she deals with with the cub, and when the cub becomes an adult, she's trying to let him go, and like that that has like a lot of human emotions too, because a lot of humans don't, they, as much as they love someone, like they have a hard time letting the person or something else go.
Yeah, and she deals with that too. Of course, she really bonds with the tiger and she loves him. But knowing that he's in danger, she has to let him go to save his life. And
Hmm.
so that's a tough one. And that was a very important sequence, and also I don't want to say difficult to animate, but meaningful to animate. Because when she takes him back where she found him and takes off his collar, and um, I actually animated that section not right away. It took me a while because I wanted to get to know both of those characters first in simpler scenes. So by
Okay.
the time I would get to this emotional moment where she says goodbye, and she even gets mad at him because he doesn't want to stay there, he keeps
Yeah.
following her.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be sure that I know those characters very well. And then once I had done plenty of scenes with both of them, then I really jumped in and felt the emotions, and what was going on in the girl's head and what was going on in the tiger's head.
Wow. And like, how do you get into a mind frame to like draw and write something?
Well, you just let it all come out of the story first. You have an overall story arc first. Like I said earlier, there was that screenplay that I really liked, and based on my idea, and then you storyboard it, and that's when you decide where the camera angle is, where the camera is at, and you decide on the continuity. Is this going to be a close up? Is this going to be a long shot? How many characters in this scene? It's like a standard story, but you try to make it interesting. It's really important to know where the camera is. Is it low? Are you looking up at the trees, or is it up there? You're looking down, because the choice for the camera angle can give so much emotion and drama to something like that. I also really enjoyed animating the chase scene, because I'm
Yes.
usually at Disney I always did the personality scenes. I've never done action scenes
Oh,
at
okay.
Disney, or hardly. And so here was this action scene when the card game is over and these guys were cheating and they got the tiger, and then they hear the kids running away. That's when the chase is on, and so a lot of running and being scared and then being stuck on that cliff where they can't go any further. And then it was Sarah's idea to just push the tiger in the river, and the boy Alex thinks like, she's crazy. What is she doing? And she just says, "Help me! He can swim. Come on!" And so it was just fun to think up those things and to think yourself of being in those situations. What would you do, if you had a big pet that you wanted to save?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I did all those scenes, him falling in the water, the big splash, so I did the type of animation that I normally wouldn't have done at Disney, because, like I said, I usually do the close-ups, talking scenes, and personality scenes. So here I did also a whole bunch of fun action stuff.
Oh wow, that's so awesome. And the songs for the short film was good, like the scores. And did you have someone in mind for it, or was it someone like you just found?
Well, a friend of mine who's a young Italian composer, his name is Fabrizio Mancinelli. I'd met him, and I know he was an up and coming composer. And as soon as I told him about my film, he was so excited. He's a big animation fan. So I thought he knew how to score an animated film, not a live action film, but an animated film. And so he was in it right at the start. But then something else happened. I had happened to have lunch with an elderly Disney legend who, him and his brother, actually wrote all the songs for the original Mary Poppins.
Wow.
They won Academy Awards for that way back in '63, I think it was. And they also wrote most of the songs for The Jungle Book, which was my first Disney movie. Anyway, so I have lunch with Richard Sherman about a decade ago, and he asked me what I was doing, and I told him that I kind of want to do this story as an animated film, and I told him what the story was about, and he got kind of excited, and he said, maybe somebody at this table here with a musical background can write some music or a song for your film. And I was just I was like falling over. You got to be kidding me. And he did. He wrote this beautiful piece, which we called Mushka's Lullaby, which we use as a musical theme kind of off and on throughout the score. And then over the end credits, it's a full-fledged song.
Okay.
So yeah, he set the tone and sort of the melancholy tone in terms of music for the film.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Richard Sherman, how about that?
Yeah, I know exactly. And I'm gonna ask like one last question. I know you got like a lot of other stuff to do, a whole bunch of interviews in one day. I'm a big horror guy, and would you ever want to do any kind of like horror animation?
Like a horror film? God, there is horror or that has been done in Disney animation. I don't know if you remember the first Fantasia.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
looking for the Devil on Bald Mountain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that just about scares the popcorn out of you. That was just so powerful. So when it's something like that, uh, that is scary but has a resolution, because at the end of that short film, he kind of folds his wings and is being back locked in that mountain, and something so artistic because it was really really well done.
Mhm.
Gosh, I would jump at that chance to do something like that. Absolutely.
Oh, nice. And where can fans follow you at?
We do have a Mushka Instagram. There's also a website. If you Google Mushka the film, there's a website where you can see production photos, getting to know the artists who worked on the film. The trailer is there. You can also separately find the trailer on YouTube, um, which we posted not so long ago. And yeah, if people watch the trailer and leave a comment, because I love reading comments. How the trailer just strikes people and what they think. So that would be super cool if people leave a comment.
All right, sweet. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Like it was really fun talking to you, and like I said, I watched the short. It was great, and thanks again for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thanks for talking to me. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bucko.